So, have you ever tried to reach out to a donor or a prospect and you just can't get a hold of them, or they're not returning your calls, or there's just no way for you to connect with them? And you may be thinking that that's it, it's over, you have no chance. What to do when you think your donors are ghosting you? That's our focus. Let's huddle up. Hey, before this episode starts, let me tell you a quick story. After more than 25 years of helping nonprofits raise millions in major gifts, I saw far too many leaders chasing small gifts without a plan to build real relationships with major donors. That's why I created the Relationship Fundraising Master Course, a complete online, on demand program that teaches you everything that you learned from me in live coaching, but for a fraction of the cost. Inside, you'll get 7 powerful modules of about 30 training videos covering exactly how to identify and approach major gift prospects. But it goes even deeper. You'll learn how to build a strong culture of philanthropy, how to leverage your board and help them understand their role in this relationship fundraising process. And you'll also understand how to master your message so that you're speaking the right language to your donors. It's all online, totally self paced, so that you can learn on your schedule and start implementing these principles right away. So, are you ready to transform your fundraising today? Just go to thefundcoach.com and click on the Relationship Fundraising Academy, and let's get started building the future of your organization together. Hey, welcome to another episode of Huddle Up with Mark, the Fun Coach. I am Mark Duncan. Today, I want to talk about something that has comes up quite often, especially in my coaching practice when I'm working with nonprofit leaders. There's always this struggle to get in front of donors. And there are a few things that I think you will find helpful so that you can prevent that kind of angst from happening. Now, before I get started, let me just say that you have to understand that if you're having difficulty reaching a donor, getting in front of them, having them return your calls, don't take it personally. Okay? They're not thinking about you as a person and avoiding you as a person. Let's be clear about that, right? And I know that's one of the things that, this kind of goes with the whole mindset around fundraising, that we ourselves as the fundraisers feel like people may not like us. People may not like me as an individual. And that is not the case at all. You know as well as anybody that people are busy. Donors are busy, especially those who have significant capacity. They have that capacity primarily because they've worked very hard for it. And if they're in the middle of their career with significant capacity, that means that they're still busy, still working hard, perhaps raising a family, juggling meetings, juggling, their regular lifestyle. All of those things are getting in the way of them getting back in touch with you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that they may still be thinking about, uh, whether or not they want to either meet with you, or if you've asked them for a gift, because this is the other time when it seems like a donor is ghosting you, is when you've made an ask and now you are trying to circle back to close the deal and you're having a difficult time getting in touch with them. And it could just be that they're still thinking about it. And it just may be that you're not, you personally, but you as the organization really just aren't a top priority right now in that moment. Don't take it personal. And I know that is easier said than done, but I wanted to emphasize that right up front. Don't take it personal. It has nothing to do with you as an individual. Okay. Now, secondly, this is probably, I think, the most helpful tip in fundraising. I'm going to say that again. I think this tip that I'm about to give you is the most helpful tip in relationship fundraising. Better than whatever I teach you around asking for money, whatever I teach you around maintaining meaningful relationships, all of this stuff. This is probably the most valuable, meaningful tip. And that is to make sure that when you secure that first visit, that every visit that follows that is scheduled before you leave the visit that you're in. Now, let me rephrase that. If you're meeting with a donor for the first time and you're beginning the relationship, you're beginning to you obviously meet with them, you're getting to know them, maybe you're having coffee with them, but you haven't yet brought them to the organization for a tour, which could be your next step. But you're meeting with them, you're having a good conversation, you're building rapport, and now you want to make sure that you do it again. Most of the time, we just sort of end the meeting and say, "Oh, next time I'll have you come out and tour, our facility." "Oh, that'd be great. Looking forward to it." And you part ways, right? Then you maybe in about a month or two, you reach out to that person to schedule that visit. Well, now you're having a hard time getting a hold of them. And it may take you a couple of weeks before you even get them on the phone or for them to respond to your email. So here's what I advise you to do: ask what I call the magic question. So whether it's the first visit or it's the third visit or it's the visit when you've made an ask and they've said, "Well, I need time to think about it." Here's the magic question: when would be a good time to follow up? Ask that every time you are about to end a visit. When would be a good time to follow up? When would be a good time for us to meet again? And then let them tell you, right? Because you're giving them permission to take as much or as little time as they need before you meet again. And so that donor or prospect may say, "Oh, why don't we plan on getting together next month?" And what you should do, because this is the perfect opportunity, when you are face to face with somebody, especially in this day and age, you have your phone, they have their phone, which means the likelihood is that their calendar is in their phone. And so they have access to what's next right in front of them. So take out your phone. Well, I'm looking at next month and I'm looking at the week of. And how does your Thursday look that week? How does Thursday the 15th look for you next month? They look at their calendar. They say, "Well, I could do 10 o'clock. Great. Why don't you come out to our facility 10 o'clock? We'll have coffee and I'll give you a tour." Wonderful. "Hey, if you don't mind, can I send you a calendar request so that that time's reserved on your calendar? And I'll also send you the address so that you can plug that into your GPS." Boom. Make sure that you do that, though. You follow up and you send them that calendar request as soon as possible, right? Whether as soon as you get back to the office or maybe before your next visit if you're doing back-to-back visits. Do it sooner rather than later so that it's on their calendar. They accept it. It's locked in. It's that simple. Asking that magic question has saved me so much time during my career as a fundraiser. When would be a good time to follow up? When would be a good time to circle back? Now, back when I was doing it, smartphones were not a thing yet. We were looking at paper calendars and maybe even a Palm Pilot. Yes, I am dating myself seriously here. But always asking that question in the moment, get it on their calendar right then and there. That is, I think, one of the most valuable tips you can have as a fundraiser, because so much of your time as a nonprofit leader engaged in relationship fundraising is securing the meeting, getting them to return your call, getting them to respond to your email, right? It's challenging. Side tip, sidebar tip for you here is if you're talking to a professional and that professional has an administrative assistant, it would be a good idea for you to have be connected to that administrative assistant, that person who is their gatekeeper, who's managing their calendar. Because what might happen is you may ask that magic question. They may look at their calendar and say, well, right now it looks good, but I need to get back to the office because and talk to so and so because he or she manages my calendar. Well, if you already have their email address and you've already established some rapport with them as you're getting to know your donor, well, then now you can reach out directly to them and you can offer that. And you can just say, great, I will contact Jonathan and myself and make sure this gets on your calendar and you get, the address so that you can put it in your GPS. And that's even better. But the idea here is to be able to secure that next visit rather than chasing them down, because you could spend more time on the phone, more time in email, more time, questioning yourself. Oh my gosh, they don't really like me, right? So we're back to the first thing I talked about. If you do this, it will save you so much time and it will save you so much aggravation. So remember that, asking the magic question, when would be a good time to follow up? Now, let's say you don't do this. Let's say that you are in a situation right now where you're trying to get a donor to return your emails, return your calls, get back in touch with you. Don't give up. Now, there's a fine line between you constantly emailing, constantly calling, and you giving up, right? And I call that fine line tactful tenacity. Tactful tenacity. It's the fine line between being a pain in the neck and also waiting too far, in between attempts to reach back out to them. So, what I suggest you do is, let's say you leave that meeting, you forgot to ask the magic question to get that on the calendar. Well, now you're going to reach out to them and try to schedule that next visit. And by the way, and I've said this in other episodes, don't just use one form or one method, rather, of communication. Don't just use email. Don't just use the phone. Don't just use texting. You want to layer this a little bit. Now, I'm going to say something, and I've said this before. If you call them, two things here. If they have your cell phone number in their phone, then certainly is okay for you to call them from your cell phone. If they don't, the likelihood is that they're going to ignore the call. It will always go to voicemail. So I suggest that you call from the office. You call from the office, the likelihood of the business popping up even on their mobile phone is higher, and they'll connect that with you and perhaps answer the call. Okay. So make sure right away as you're building that relationship, give them your cell phone number, you get theirs. That way you have a direct line to them. Okay. Now, if you call and they don't answer, leave a voicemail. As counterintuitive as that may be for some, because I know we don't typically leave voicemails today, I encourage you to leave a voicemail, because if your number comes up, they don't recognize it. They'll listen to the voicemail, they'll hear your voice go, oh my goodness. And they'll probably go ahead and then put the number in the phone with your name on it so that they recognize it the next time you call. Email. So if you make a phone call, leave a voicemail, and then also send a quick email. One of the things you're trying to determine here is, what is their preferred mode of communication? And early on, you may not know that. Are they more responsive to phone calls? Are they more responsive to voicemail? Are they more responsive to emails? Are they more responsive to text messages? You need to figure that out. And so some of this is you sort of testing to see what's the best way for them, or the most uh, likelihood that they're going to respond to you. And you can ask them this too. How do you like to communicate? Are you an email person? Are you a text person? And people will tell you right off the bat, don't call me, send me a text. I set aside time to respond to text messages, or don't text me, email me. You need to figure that out. But it's the attempts and the spacing in between attempts that I want to talk about when it comes to tactful tenacity. After the first try, wait 3 days, try again. After 3 days, wait a week from that point, try again. After a week goes by, wait maybe 9 or 10 days, try again. You see what I'm doing here? Each attempt is getting spaced a little further apart. But then I want you to get to a point where you're at maybe 3 weeks, or 2 weeks rather, apart. Then now you're just going to stay on the sort of a regular reaching out to them, every 2 weeks, roughly, right? Through the various ways to connect with them. Eventually they will connect, and they will thank you for being persistent. They will even comment about your persistency to you and maybe others that you work with, especially a supervisor. That happened to me quite a bit during my career. He's pretty persistent. I really appreciate that, because I was really busy and I would have, forgotten or not got back to him, but really appreciate your persistency. And so that's where this tactful tenacity comes in. Okay. Donors aren't ghosting you to avoid you. Donors are busy. Sometimes they're not maybe ready to talk to you, especially if you're chasing them down for a decision on an ask that you've made. That's why you ask the magic question, when would be a good time to follow up, because what they're doing is they're thinking, okay, how much time do I need before I make a decision? I need to talk to my spouse. I need to check, where I'm going to move money from, whatever it may be. And they'll say, well, give me 3 weeks. Great. Look at your calendar. 3 weeks from that point, I'm looking at, this day around this time. Does that work for you? This could just be a follow-up phone call, by the way, that you're scheduling. You don't always have to schedule a face-to-face visit. You can schedule a follow-up phone call, especially if you're trying to get an answer to an ask. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I wanted to just mention, this is not a long session here, but I wanted to make sure that I mention this, because this is something in the moment when we're meeting with donors that we may not be thinking about until we get in the car and we're driving off. So this is something that you're going to have to remind yourself of when you walk into the visit. Okay. Hope this is helpful to you. I hope this saves you tons of time. I know it did me when I started to employ, these tactics. And at the end of the day, this fundraising thing we do, it's not about the dollars. It's about what the dollars do for the people that you serve. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.